Hey, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today I'm going to work on an upgrade on my Creality K2 Plus. So let's go ahead and get started. So a while ago, I became aware of the K2 Plus D3P riser Lite, and there's a full version of this, but I happen to like the Lite version. And the reason why I like this model is it has the ability to tilt the KFS system up. And that to me is a feature that's well worth it for me, because trying to do any type of maintenance from the top of the printer is sort of a pain in the butt when you have to take everything apart and then move the KFS if it's sitting on top of your printer. In my case, I have zero room and I really need this to fit, and having the ability to tilt it back is actually perfect. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to show that this model is a paid model, so you need to purchase credits. Now, I'd rather just pay cash for it, but I wound up buying 2,000 credits, and I've used 999, which is about $10 or a little less than $10 US to purchase it. Now, this isn't the maker's fault. This is more Creality. My guess is that I'm never going to be able to spend 100% of my credits, and therefore Creality gets some of my money and that I'm never going to be able to spend. Now, looking at this model, there's a couple of cool things here. There's both, as I mentioned, a full version and the light version. Now, the full version looks like you can get into the case because it's lifted up on top. And the other thing I noticed on this version is you can put multiple CFS on top. So let's show that. And like I said, I just preferred the smaller version. I like the ability to tilt it back. Just about everything about this model I really like. And the only thing I had to do was I did change the plate. I used the default settings from the maker, which is Darin 3D print. I did change that because I was using ASA, and some of the plates have multiple parts on them. I found with ASA, it was much easier to print more plates with one piece per plate, and that really helped the parts stick to the plate. So with that being said, let's switch over to the printer, and we're going to start building this riser, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll give you my opinion as we're building it. We'll also take a look at what all came with the package when I purchased it. The first thing I'm going to point out, and this is sort of goofy, and again, not anything to do with Darin 3D print, all has to do with Creality Cloud, which I really don't use all that often. But when I download the package, let me show you, it doesn't download the instructions, which the maker has been so kind to add to the files here. So if you go here, you can keep expanding, and eventually you'll find the instructions. And these are relatively new, so these were done in November. And there's the PDF. But again, why isn't that included in the package? And that's more of a Creality cloud thing than anything else. I just sort of think for quality of life, you would include all files in the package. So Creality Cloud, that's something for you to work on. So I'm going to start off by looking at the manual. Now I've gone through this. It's 7 pages. The instructions seem pretty good. I will point out that the pictures are small, but that's probably me being half blind as opposed to a real problem with the manual. There are print settings here, and as I said, the developer had set up a project with all the settings, and he has individual settings for objects for whether it needs support and has all that configured. Now, I changed it a little bit in my case just for ASA. I will point out too that with ASA, I was having trouble printing some of the taller parts, and that messed me up, but then realized I could just put a little glue down on the bed, and then all the parts really stuck well. So let me switch over to my workbench and we'll start putting this all together. I'm starting off with 2 L-shaped pieces here. Line those up. And then I have 3 pins that go right in here. Now, the developer did point out that there's tight tolerances, and I'm using ASA as opposed to the PLA he was using. Now, I found that so far, at least with these, they're fitting snugly, but not too snugly. And I'm just going to slip these together. And it does say in the instructions I might need to bang them together a little bit. Now, I'm simply going to use a pin in the middle of these to hold it together. I'm going to apologize because I'm getting my parts off the floor, and there's a ton of parts here. Now, I started off, here's one of the pins, and this is going to go right inside here on this track. It'll sit down like this, holding it together. Now, I started off on these small pieces by doing painting on the small little bits. I found, though, with ASA, I was much better off doing a brim. So I redid all my parts that weren't right with brims. Now I'm just going to set this in here and hopefully snap it in place. I got to push it back together again. And that actually slipped in really nice. So you can see the pin sort of sitting in there. So that's holding it together. Now, a point on each of the ends here. There's another pin. There's more pieces that are going to need to be used to pin all this together. So far, again, fairly easy, at least right now. So let me find the next piece and I'll start again. What I need to do next is I have 2 rectangle pieces. These are going to go on each side. So I'm just putting those in. So I have the rectangle pieces. Of course, I didn't pull out enough of those, and then 1 square piece. You can see these are a little tight. That's actually okay. And it does say in the instructions, as I mentioned, I might have to bang them in a little bit. Now, let me find another rectangle piece and I'll do the other side. Here's the other side. So we have that. And then let's switch over and figure out what we have to do next. What's interesting, I guess this may be for the K2 Plus as opposed to the Pro. This piece looks a lot bigger than that middle picture right here on the display. So, but this piece is going to go right in here. And let me make sure I have that lined up appropriately. So that snaps together. And then I'm going to take one of my pins and put this on the inside. Now I'm a little worried this pin's not going to fit right because I did rotate it a little bit when I printed. That is working. I'm going to do the other side now. Let me turn it this way so you can see it. Move my knife out of the way. So again, that seems pretty solid. I have a good frame here. And it seems pretty solid and stiff. So I'm pretty pleased with this. So let me pause and I'll go to the next step. So now we're going to start off with the side pieces here. And we have these little screws. Now the directions say to try threading these in. And they do appear to thread. And that's in there tight for me. I'm just going to undo it. Now I'm taking this and just sliding it in the end here. So we're just sliding this in. We slide it in like that. And then this little piece goes right here in the center. That's to open and close the vents. So vents closed, vents open. And I'll do the same on the other side. Now on the end pieces, I'm doing 2 small square pegs and 1 larger square peg. So I'm just going to slip these in these holes. And I'm doing that on both sides. And I just want to push them in. And they are, at least from what I'm seeing, fairly snug, which is what I want. So let me do the other side. I also have these pegs to hold the piece together, and I'll be right back. put the back part of the frame aside. This is the front. I'm going to put in 2 small squares. Well, I have 1 small square. So let's put in 1 small square. I'm going to put in a bigger square on the other side. Pull off painted on support. So slip that in. And that's going to go together like this. I need 1 other small square, so let me find that. So I found my other square. I'm just going to put that in here. Slip that in. Snap these 2 pieces together. So they're snapped together, turn it around. And then I have the pin. It's going to go inside to hold these 2 sides together. Now I'm finding that with fat fingers, it's a little difficult to get this in here. Snapping it in place. There, got it snapped in. So now let me go to the next step. I put this piece together. I'm just going to pop it apart real quick. Because of course, I made a simple mistake here. I forgot to put the vent in first. I'm just going to pull out the middle peg. And then simply slip the vent in. Now I'm going to point out this side based on the brim I used. It's sort of covering up the bottom here. Just pull that out. And we're just going to take the slide that in, and put the peg back in place. So the vent and front are put together. Let me look at the next step. Here's the back and middle part, and I'm just going to take the front and slide that on here. So let's slide that on. And something fell out here. Well, up, peg in the middle. So I'll have to put that back in. And then let me slide this top on and I'll have the square done. So I have the front on and the square is complete. So that's going to go on top of the printer. Let me move over to the printer and get started there. So I've went ahead and mounted the X frame. So I've went ahead and mounted the top frame on the printer. It really feels solid. It fits really well. Now, my next step is to put the pieces in the back, and this is where the swivel. So I'll switch over here. So as you can see, there's little covers. If I want to cover these spaces in the back, I do not. I want to put in these pieces so I have the pivot. So let me grab those and we'll start installing. So you'll see the triangle holes in the back, and then I have this piece. So this should slip right in there. And as far as I can tell, the tall part is on the outside. Switch over and show the other side. And these just, again, slip right down. And that actually feels fairly tight, snug. Now, the one thing I am looking at, well, these can only go in one way. So, again, the tall part's going towards the outside of the printer. So let me find the next piece and we'll take a look at that. Well, I put these pieces together like this. I've also taken the back piece out. The way I'm interpreting the instructions, I'm going to switch over and look at those real quick, is I'm actually going to need to put some glue on this piece and then glue this in here. Now, I still want this to be able to rotate. The longer end of this needs to point towards the interior of the printer. So it should go like that, but I need a little glue on there. So what I'm going to do is glue those 2 pieces off camera and come back. So I've glued the pieces together and this still moves. Now I'm just going to let these set up for like an hour and then I'll come back and finish the build. So while my glue is drying, I'm going to put on the bottoms on the C CFS. We're going to ignore how bad my desk looks because it feels like I just keep piling up pieces and parts. Let me get the CFS. We'll bring it over here and then install it on the bottom. So I do need to screw the brackets into the bottom of the CFS. I didn't realize, but there's already holes there. The instructions say I can use number 6 and 3/4 inch wood screws. I got these at Lowe's today. Now I'm putting the CSF hanging off the desk a little bit, and that's so the feet will actually sit in these indentations. So it'll look something like this. I got to make sure not to bump the camera. And this is lined up with the hole, so I just need to screw those in. Let me do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Now, I just want to point out that these are plastic. The recommended infill on them is 15%, so they're fairly light. So you want to be careful when you're screwing these in. You want to hand tighten them. You don't want to really crank it in there, because if you crank it in there, there's a good chance you'll break the plastic. Now, I have these all on here. Let me check my other parts and see how the glue is, and then we'll see about mounting. You can see I've positioned this piece so this part is recessed back in here. I think I need it like that in order to insert the CFS. That's going to sit something like this. So I basically sit the CSF in here. And then what I'm doing is using these as knocks. So I'm pulling it back. So the CFS can just rock forward. Now, the other thing I can do is basically any of these holes that are not being used, I have little pieces that'll go in here on the side. I'll show you that here in a minute. So let's pull this back. Let's lock this in place. Keep that up. I'm going to reach down, knock the camera around, because it wouldn't be one of my videos unless I hit the camera a bunch of times. And there's the glass sitting on top. So now I can unlock these and push them back. And there's my CSF mounted. Let's zoom back. So the CSF is now mounted on the top here. And there's little holes on the side. I can just use, I have little pieces that'll go in there. Lock those off. So there's these pieces. They'll go right here on the sides. So I need to position those and get those set up right. And then I'll be done the install. So let's take a quick look at the instructions again. So you can see the riser on the printer, the CSF brackets on the riser. You'll have these little pieces, the unused mounting holes. Now these are for mounting accessories. So these parts here, these holes along the side are for mounting accessories. I don't have anything right now. So I'm just going to use these little pieces that come with it, and I have them in orange, and I'm going to put those through there. Point out that these little pieces have a brim on them. That's intentional. That's so that way I can pull these out again when I'm done. Now, in the future, I probably will print some other parts to mount them on sides, because I like some of the attachments you can get for this riser, but I'm not going to do that today. So this right now is my new riser. I'm actually really, really pleased with this. So you can get this model on Creality Cloud, and I'm using the K2 Plus D3P riser Lite. I'll put a link to this model in the video description. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.